And we're live. Welcome to Music Matters with Jason Tramm. Thank you so much for joining us for our unique podcast community where we explore the triumphs and challenges of the performing arts world as seen through the eyes of distinguished colleagues. Thank you so much for helping us grow. We recently hit 1,565 subscribers, and we are growing every day thanks to you. Please remember to subscribe to us on YouTube and follow us on our social media on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, you name it, you can find us there. You can also hear us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and also on the radio on New York City on Saturdays from 11:30 to noon on WMCA in Manhattan. So thank you so much for joining us and welcome to Music Matters. We have a fantastic pianist today, Miss Anna Sutyagina, who is from Munich, Germany, and is doing incredible work. She is a champion of modern music and a fantastic artist, as well as the founder of Moving Classics. So we're welcome that she can join us. Thank you. Welcome, Anna.
Hello, and welcome to our talk. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, it's always a pleasure to meet colleagues from across the pond, and I'm always so delighted to talk to new colleagues. We have not met in person, but it's such a great way to meet the people who are doing exciting work.
Well, thank you. I'm also enjoying the virtual communication, and I find your idea fantastic. I have been following it, and I discovered for me very interesting personalities, and also learned a lot about the current topics in the music business.
Well, it's given us connections that we would never have in the past. And I think that's one of the hidden blessings of this pandemic was the fact that we've had to become so creative and reach new ways to find our audiences. I know for me as a conductor, losing my actual having people in front of me, very different than these conversations, but we've been able to have conversations synchronously across the world. And it's been really quite interesting.
Yeah, that's true. The new skills are required, and we were kind of forced to acquire these new skills. And I find it a very valuable experience also for personal growth and for, as you say, for discovering new opportunities.
So tell us about your development as an artist. Did you always know you wanted to be an artist?
Well, yes and no. I had several stages as a child. You know, I was born, I was lucky to have a mom who was a pianist, my sister is a pianist. So I had the privilege of having the Russian traditional pianist education, which is really very solid. And but it wasn't until later in life, when I was already living in Munich, that I discovered the need to do things that I really want to do. So for example, thinking about the future development of piano and supporting the living composers. So it developed later when I was already kind of a pianist, but searching for a new focus in life. So that was when I also met in Facebook Piotr Lachert, who was a composer and who was the founder of New Consonant Music. So that was serendipity for me to be introduced into the totally new world, the world where I really feel very, very comfortable in.
Well, it's so exciting to bring the work of living composers to life, isn't it? Because we can't ask Beethoven why they wrote it. I just did Beethoven 5. I can't ask Beethoven why he chose to write the third movement that way. But we can ask the colleagues we work with, tell us more about this music. I just find it so rewarding to work with composers you can ask the questions and delve into together.
Yeah, the communication with composers is really a big part of the Moving Classics project because during the last 3 years now, I have talked with over 1,000 living composers, and I interviewed and played in YouTube over 400 compositions, and every week we present one composer with an interview and a profile, and I also play and record one composition. So this is kind of an ongoing process, and now surely I get more and more music, and it's really a pity that I cannot really play all.
You need
But
more hours in the day to play all that
yes,
music.
and this is really what saddens me, because I mean, some music is just great, and sometimes it's just only one composition that I record, and I wish I could record really more. So for me, this is it's like learning a new language. So every composer has its own world, and it has its own style, and to kind of get into this world, I mean, you really need openness, you need curiosity, and you need also time. And this is the most important part, that we have a live communication. So I get input from composers, and I can always give them also a feedback. During the Corona time, I also discovered the so-called, let's say, kind of a service, if you want, for composers. I call it proof playing. So I work together with composers to help them complete their works. So this is I also call it co-creation, not only kind of taking the final product and playing it, right? So it's also kind of developing it together. And
yeah, when you have composers, maybe who are not pianists at the forefront, they're not pianists, like, to make sure that the technique works, to make sure everything is pianistic in the fingers, right? So it's very important that professionals like yourself play through those things and give them suggestions.
Yeah, and even if they are a pianist, it's always good to have a kind of four eyes and four hands, just to get a different perspective. And so before the composition goes into the world and starts its own life. So this is really exciting. And
that is exciting. So what motivated you to start moving classics and in your training? Did you do a lot of new music in your training?
Well, you see, it was like this. When I was a child, my mom has a very big library. So, of course, I was learning the repertoire and was playing the competitions. But in my free time, or when I was at the piano, I would be playing through all this music. So I would just sit there for hours and hours, and I would just read. I would take anything, even if I cannot play it, and I would just kind of sight read. And it became my passion to read new music and to also grasp new music, because when you reach a certain level, I mean, this is like part of you. You can really see all the connections within a short period of time, and this is like a journey. You start, and then you kind of develop it further. So during my education, I would say, of course, the modern piano music was Bartok, Shostakovich, and Prokofiev, right? And Sobolewski. And I think I felt exactly the same as any musician who doesn't follow moving classics, that there are amazing, talented composers out there with beautiful music, and it's also pianistic, and it can be played at different levels. So for me, it was really like, wow, like shock that there are composers who are perhaps even younger than myself and who write this music. So I had to discover it for myself first, and then I started sharing with others. And of course, through the help of valuable friends, also in Facebook, who were supporting me with information, who were sharing. Because at the beginning, it was always a little bit difficult to start, and it was Lori Lightman, whom you perhaps know from New York. She sent me her only piano piece that she has, her nocturno, and it was my first recording for Moving Classics.
Oh, fantastic! Wow.
Yeah.
What a way to start that journey, because people, there's a lot of people who in the audiences who may not know that they like modern music, right? They hear modern music and they're thinking, oh, my Schoenberg, and and I think a lot we have to make a case for some of this music, which is so beautiful.
Yeah, and exactly as you say, when people hear contemporary music, that's why I use the word Moving Classics is modern piano music between passion and serenity. Because if you say contemporary, yes, people think it's perhaps Schoenberg and so on. So unfortunately, it's academic music. But even we musicians sometimes have to acquire the skills to hear this music and to understand it. We learn it long time, right? So for the communication, it's totally different. So I'm really happy that composers today, the trend is different. The trend is back to tonality, to melody, to romantic renaissance, if you want. And of course, the polystylistic and always eclectic, and the mixture of different genres. So this is also kind of part of my personality, because I find it's very exciting that everything is possible in the modern
we are seeing a cross hybridization of all musical genres and styles. That's one of the reasons I've been having interviews with popular artists and pop artists, rock artists, and I'm just fascinated by what we can learn from each other across the musical spectrum. And we're seeing a lot of musicians incorporating styles from jazz, from popular music into their classical music, and I think that's really a healthy thing for Western classical music.
Oh yes, and I find also when we speak about concert rituals, classical music rituals are most rigid, and this is also the reason why we are losing the audience, or we are not really getting new audience, especially among the younger generation, because it's all very strict, it's very formal. And I think that the popular genres of music teach us new ways, and this is up to us to grab them and make the best out of it. So I'm also fortunate to discover the popular music for myself too, because during my education, we were more like, okay, if I'm classical, then I don't listen to Britney Spears. It was like not my cup of tea, But
it's a different type of expression for sure.
Yes. Yeah.
But I saw a recording you did on Moving Classics of you doing Starman by David Bowie.
Oh yes, yes.
So what was it like translating David Bowie to the piano in a quasi-classical medium? What was that like?
Yeah, well, with David Bowie, surely I knew David Bowie before, but for some reason I just discovered this music for me quite recently. And I was listening to everything by David Bowie and also listened to his interviews, by the way. He was
fantastic.
Really good.
Artistic mind.
I learned so much about just articulating and also his creative ideas. I didn't know that before. So this is, and I wouldn't say it's easy to play this music. It's totally different, but it kind of makes you free. It teaches you certain things about rhythm, about also the shaping. And I like this process because I find this ultimate freedom of expression. This is also the artistic goal that we are all pursuing as musicians. And we're definitely learning a lot. I mean, I would like to listen to Led Zeppelin. That's
My son's a very active rock and jazz fusion drummer. He's 16 years old, and he just went on tour with John Anderson from Yes, and he just got back from tour. And by him working with a Hall of Fame rock artist, boy, he was telling me the stories of like working with this 75-year-old rock legend. That music's incredibly challenging, and you have to have great energy to be able to play it well.
Yeah, absolutely. The energy is also something that we can learn, right? Because also the energy and the charisma that they had. Mick Jagger, for example.
I mean, do you know he studies ballet today? He studies ballet and he runs marathons just so he can have that type of performance. He can have that energy in his performance that he's been accustomed to.
Yeah.
Incredible discipline.
Yeah. Well, it's discipline and it's energy. So
I saw them when I was in high school, and I'm 46 right now, and we thought they were old back then.
Yes, I can imagine. Yeah, but and they're still there, right?
Well, you're getting a lot of love on the chat. We love this. People are talking and joining us the conversation. I love when people ask questions. So people at home, feel free to ask questions of Anna or bring up some concepts. We love these conversations. Our first question is from one of our chats, and Sylvester from Nevada asks, "What are your favorite types of music outside of classical?"
Mm-hmm. Types of music outside of classical. Okay, I really like. Let's say the the Madonna style of pop
music. Okay, wow.
Well, yeah, Backstreet Boys. This is also something I would listen to. I mean, that's not really. I like epic music from movies. So sometimes I don't even know the composers, but Hans Zimmer, for example, it's really inspiring. I would say I like folk music when it's very soul touching, very simple and sung by different, in the context, sometimes you travel through the villages and you see the people singing there. And I mean, me coming from Russia, it's kind of certain tradition that people would sit in the kitchen and somebody will grab a guitar and suddenly you hear how many beautiful songs with wonderful melodies are there, and people know the lyrics, something that I must admit I don't. But I just love listening to this. I could listen for hours and just dream.
And, it's amazing how we talk about pop music and classical music. Well, folk music of the people has always influenced classical music. You go back from Grieg or way before that. It's always been an influence, and it's always winds up in the art music of a culture from the folk music.
Yeah, and I like this exotic touch in the music, this oriental modulations, or like the duduk, the Armenian music. And,
absolutely.
Makes it really music. It shows different facets of the music, and I really enjoy also different timbres that I try to find in my playing. So kind of it makes the playing three-dimensional, if you want.
So tell us about what it's like to have all these different composers submitting their works and adapting to style so quickly. And are you ever shocked some of the music you see? Does it ever just tell us what it's like to for me, whenever I study new compositions, it's always so exciting because I get to it's like opening up a new world. I always feel like that whenever I conduct a new piece.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is something that we all know. The piece is like a person. So it starts with kind of getting to know, the general structure and then going into the details. So first, I mean, surely I get all the music, and sometimes I also ask for stories or for something about this music, because it just kind of gives me a certain idea Yeah, and I find it especially important these days to have also kind of a storytelling going with the music.
So important.
Uh,
People really respond to that. I think they really want to know more about the composer, about the time period, about I know I do. I really add so much with a little bit of context.
Yeah, absolutely. It helps and it kind of also saves time, you know, in a way, because you kind of get idea and you can develop this idea. And my composers know me by now that I'm somebody who really has a certain idea about interpretation, because this is where my creativity comes in, and I think the creativity of composer and the creativity of a interpreter can work magic. And surely playing is not only just playing. I need to work on the technical details, and this is something that requires work and time. And this is perhaps sometimes challenging. Yes, I have to admit. So I have to really schedule my time really well to get everything really well, and not to compromise my ideas. And sometimes it's like this. Sometimes, well, it doesn't happen very often, but sometimes my ideas are different than the ideas of a composer. But I find this is really natural process. We all hear music differently, and it doesn't mean that the music is really distorted. I mean, it's just a kind of a one version of it, and there can be another version. That's why one piece can be played by, I don't know, 1 million pianists.
Listen to a Beethoven sonata, right? We had three pianists play in three totally different ways, and that's the glory of classical music, is it changes based on the artist interpreting it.
Yeah, and I find, for example, especially today, I find you can reach the audience only then when you have your own individual voice. I mean, there's no way of repeating Horowitz or just being the copy of a copy of another copy in YouTube. You know, I mean, it's difficult enough, surely, but I think the future is really creating your own individual voice. And I mean, surely with new compositions, it is in a way more difficult. Because when you think, I haven't played the second ballade of Chopin, but I have it in my ears, you know, so I have an idea about it, and this is already there. I just need to work on the technical things. But when I get a new piece, I don't hear it. And for me, I need to develop the internal hearing. Without this internal hearing, I cannot interpret it. And this is something that needs to be developed. And when the piece is not played, and even for me, when I get the music, I play it and I put it all in different heaps of, or folders, put it this way. And sometimes I don't get the gist of this composition immediately. So I put it in this certain folder and I revisit it. And I still have compositions that I revisit after 2 years. And I'm surprised that I think, oh, they were really amazing, but I haven't discovered it immediately. So
some composers' work is less direct, some is much more direct, right? I mean, isn't that fascinating? Like learning a Brahms symphony takes me a long time because Brahms is so complex and so rhythmically complex and, you know, emotionally complex. But Tchaikovsky, I don't find it as complex that way. It's hard, but it's got a different set of challenges. But I love that about discovering a new composer. It's a good point that everyone comes with a different perspective, and some have such a. And I'm glad to hear that sometimes it takes a long time to let that gestate.
Yes, and it does, and that's why I also address it openly, because perhaps some composers wonder why I keep postponing the recording of one or another piece, but it has really one explanation. And as you say, some composers have open and extrovert personalities, and so is the music, right? But the subtle perceptions, you know, the subtle nuances, they need time, and they really do need time. I think this is perhaps my my big lesson that I learned from working with composers. And you cannot really kind of jump from one stage to the other. I mean, you can only, but then you lose the quality, you lose the really the interesting part.
What inspired you to found Moving Classics and to go on this journey? What was the first step along that journey? You recorded your first song. You know, your first piece. When I did the podcast, it was COVID ended live performances for me. I was supposed to be guest conducting, do opera productions, symphonic productions, and everything ground to a halt. And I was, I missed my colleagues, so I started doing this podcast just to learn and just to keep those conversations going. I needed that creative outlet. For you, how do you balance your live performances with your online performances, and how have you managed that as COVID is starting to free up a bit?
Yeah, perhaps I'll explain a little bit more in more detail because of the first thing with starting with Moving Classics. Before the Moving Classics, I had the Munich Classic Salon, and that was really the physical event salon. So I was doing word and music programs devoted to different personalities, usually the strong women characters. And I would put different musicians together, and there will be the story, and there will be also the extracts from different books. So I was doing this really live and physical events. I think, it was maybe 10 years altogether. So per year, 2 productions, so that I would also write script and I would have a director who will put it all on stage. But then I reached the stage where I felt like, being limited by the walls of the location wasn't enough. I wanted to have a format that has international reach, that where you can really do something sustainable, and it should be also cost effective, and it should also be something valuable for others, because I think this is perhaps the most important thing. I always see if there is also a demand there. Yeah. So and it was long before COVID. So YouTube was already there. Of course, I wasn't, unfortunately, the first to start, and I really regret that I haven't started before. But some things are like this. I haven't discovered
artistic evolution, right? It's artistic evolution, and you were ahead of the curve. I mean, we've all had to learn how to use the internet. I've always had a YouTube channel since 2016. I would just put my conducting videos up there, but I never really did much with it. It was just there. The idea of podcasting and having conversations, and now I do both conducting and conversations, and it's kind of been a challenge. How do you balance the live performing with the online performing?
Well, this is, I would say, I like the mixture of both, because I'm also the kind of person who needs different things. And I also believe, and I really do believe it, that the musician today is a jack of all trades. And now, during the corona, it got even worse, I mean, if you want, because you really need so many different professions to be in use, so that and it makes you an artist, and it makes you valuable. I don't think there is one person who can just do one thing and can live from doing this. Maybe it's Evgeny Kissin, yes, but I mean, this is older generation, and this is basically exception. And so
good point. We've all had to become much more versatile. I agree with that. There was a time when I was just an opera conductor, but then the industry has collapsed, so there's a lot less performances. So we've all had to learn to teach, learn how to. I learned the podcast. It's amazing what we can learn, how creative we can be when we have to be.
And I think that the online formats allow us to experiment, and this is the most important. I think without experimentation, only exploiting things, only doing the things that you always have been doing, because this is not enough. So online formats allow us to be more creative and to try out things. And also one thing is the immediate feedback. This is also very important. You just get back what you send out, and sometimes you don't get the feedback that you wanted to, but then that's how it is. You have to do something different, or for example, I had also kind of an interesting idea, and it was 6 years ago, I think, that I wanted to present the best classics online, but like a video clip, like MTV format thing. So I started that, and for example, the Pathétique by Beethoven, the first movement, or the Clara Schumann Nocturne, or some The Man I Love by Gershwin.
Sure.
So I had this videos where I would invite actors, but the feedback that I got wasn't really overwhelming. So it was kind of and I also got some contradictory reactions because some people said, well, it takes the imagination away, but it kind of shows my imagination, and that wasn't a good trade-off. So that was also for me a sign that I need to do something different. And then the moment came where I would see all these talented people out there with the music pieces, and there were not enough video recordings in internet, and there wasn't a kind of a community that was built around. And I think for me right now, at this very stage of my development, the community building is the most important. And perhaps this is even more important than my personal pianistic performance. But I find these two go well together, because I can see right now there's no way one individual person can get through. I mean, like, this is illusion. You cannot get through. Even if you are talented and the music is fantastic, and if you Javan will play the composition, it's all about the synergies. It's all about the divided passion of hundreds and hundreds of people. So, and this is something that I'm working on, to kind of build this community, to share the passion, and also to to receive this passion back.
It's fascinating to see what the audience responds to, isn't it? So sometimes I'll do a podcast or I'll put a recording up and I'll think that this will be something that they'll like a lot, and it doesn't get a lot of views, but something I think was different might get a lot more views, and you're always learning. And we had a social media influencer who's a fine actor, Stephen He, who's got something like 3.5 million. He's got over 1 million subscribers on YouTube and 3 million on TikTok. I mean, this guy is incredibly well, and he says, I made 200 videos before one of them was good. Well, that type of discipline. And he goes, and it's not about what I want, it's about what the audience finds value in and finds meaning in.
Yeah, this is it. I mean, this is also the mindset that we musicians should also develop these days, because it's not really about like me as a person and my dreams. It's also about what I get back that develops my person, if it makes sense.
We have another question from the audience. This is from Steve from France. Welcome, Steve from France. He asks, do you compose?
Do I compose? Well, this is a legitimate question, and I compose secretly at home at night. And I even recorded something for me, and then next day I listened to it, and I thought, I think I heard something like this before. So I'll share a secret with you, Steve. I think if I would release what I compose, it will sound something like 1950 music from Hollywood and Soviet Union together, So that will be my style.
It's
So I think
interesting when you do compose. Like I compose sometimes. I'll put something down, but my gift is bringing the work of other people to life, and I find great value in that. As a conductor, I painstakingly research my composers until I really feel like I know this piece, I know the style, I know the idioms, and then I feel like I can adequately interpret this music. But when I compose, I'm not as facile. I enjoy the art of recreation, of bringing something to life that's on the page, and creating that in sound to me is really exciting.
Yeah, I mean the composing. I mean certainly it helps me to understand the problems and needs, and also the life of composers, because it's an extremely difficult process, right? And especially depends on what are your expectations of yourself, right? I mean, surely if it's just a piece, but this is not enough. You really want to find your own individual language, right? And this is the next next level. So yeah, I mean, I also see myself as an interpreter, as a performer, more like an actor, but actor in music. This transformation. This is something that really kind of interests me, to be different personalities within one evening, let's say, if it's a live performance, or if it's every week, I release the recording. So it should be a different life, should be a different story, and I'm really enjoying this diversity.
That is thrilling, and it's great that you get to do both. You get to have both sides. I know for me now that this summer I did a lot of live conducting. I was conducting a lot different performances, and before, during COVID, when there were no live performances, I was mostly remote, and I did like 5 podcasts a week, and we were really enjoying this. Wow. But now I have to balance my schedule very carefully between my university teaching, my conducting, and now the podcasting. But I find that one activity kind of fuels the other, gives me energy, because I like you, I thrive on a lot of different activity, and I really enjoy that one activity like builds up the other for me.
Yeah, we are similar, yeah.
And I guess when you have an active mind, it always seeking an outlet for something to create.
Yeah, I find also the process of creation that gives energy, and like speaking about the creativity, I was very curious to find out the secrets of creativity, if you want. So in the interviews that I'm asking my composers for the feature of Composer of the Week, I would always ask them about their creative process. And from the answers that I got, I kind of got, let's say, 12 different codes. Surely if I share with you some, they sound kind of maybe even cliche-wise, but this is not, because this is really the hours and hours and years of long work. For example, subtle perceptions, like searching for these minute details, reiterating, and so this is like the whole process that helps. Like for example, Picasso, who was painting the same picture every day, and everybody will say, well, what is it? And he would say, well, it's different picture. And it was the same horse, no? So the same with the music, or Chopin, who would do several versions, but take the first one. But this is like searching for the subtle perceptions. And I really enjoy discovering more about creativity, because the ultimate question, how do we create the genius work? I mean, this is still not clear. It's not really research that you can say, well, this is like 100% sure it will work. I mean, certainly with the codes that I have really kind of worked, and I also offer them in the creativity break workshops or creativity break coachings. I mean, they are really sure tools that you can acquire and you can use, especially when you have creative blockages. But this ultimate answer to create the ultimate piece, I mean, this is something really this is like to get the algorithm on Facebook right, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, who knows? That's even more mysterious, the algorithm. We're all trying to figure that out ourselves, aren't we? And I've watched it every time they make a video and it's like changes, they alternate it, but the all-knowing algorithm. But it's amazing how varied human thought is, because I love interviewing composers on this show, and just to hear the way that they're all so different. They all have such different processes and ways that they're inspired, and kind of, some are incredibly regimented and they compose in the morning and they edit in the afternoon. Some are way more kind of as the moment comes. But you find that I guess it's as diverse as the people who write it.
Yeah, surely. And everybody has its own ritual or its own method, and they think that that's really the best. But I really admire their lifestyles, because it requires so much discipline, and you really need to balance so many aspects. And imagine, if you're working on something, your thoughts are always with this particular melody or with this particular bar, and but you still have life to live. And this is something that I find really challenging, and perhaps this is something that we should also perhaps share with the younger generation, so that we kind of prepare the musicians of future for a better let's say life work balance. I mean, because it's really challenging.
Well, the older generations have to impart to the younger generations. The younger generations are going to be innovating and bringing new ideas forward. It's so exciting. As I teach university, and I just love to see the energy of my students. We were remote last year. This year we're in person, and the ensembles are the energy of those young people keep me energized. I just get more excited when I see them, and I want to show them everything and teach as much as I can. And they teach me far more than I teach them.
Yeah, it's very rewarding. I believe you. It's also nice to see idealistic, people who are really believing in the future, and this is also something that any artist should preserve, right, during their lifetime. Yeah?
Well, we're seeing an incredible, the internet being a global force. We're seeing the explosion of classical music in places we normally wouldn't associate with. Have you been getting a lot of compositions from other countries? Where are you? Some of the most interesting places you're getting submissions from?
Yeah, from Ghana, for example, from Algeria.
Cool.
I'm also very interested in following some composers in India, because India and Indonesia, I think these are the places where there is perhaps not really much exposure to classical music. And I know for sure that the Indian people, they are used to different harmonic systems, so they find a little bit of difficulty in understanding the Western classical music. But you wouldn't believe it, there are people there who are composing and who understand the Western music. So Jamaica, Puerto Rico, surely Mongolia. Yeah, so New Zealand, I had a really nice project with New Zealand. So I really, I calculated it. I have over 70 countries. So.
Wow. That's amazing. What a great way to connect the world. Musicians and artists really have been that connector. Even in the worst of the Cold War, music was a way that we could cross the bridges, right? We can make that cross, make that bridge. And I think the more we can make music together with different cultures, the more we're going to understand each other.
Absolutely, yeah. And have you noticed how easy it is to start conversation with a musician? It's like we're on the same wavelength, and we always know what to talk about. We can talk for hours and go into details, and it will never be boring. So This is also the advantage of understanding music and being part of this wonderful world.
It's always an honor to meet artists across the planet like yourself, who are doing such great work and championing such a noble cause as bringing new pieces to life. Yes. Tell us about some of the composers who you must have gotten some people started who now must be very large composers. Have you seen any hit the meteoric rise?
Well, it's always it's always a question. If I really would like to them to grow, and to really become more popular. So Marco Villanovas from Peru, he's 20, and he is really somebody whom we should all follow, because his Goodbye song, for example, you can type it in YouTube and listen. It's really, really amazing. Bethany Walking from United States, for example. It's also female composers, and certainly it's a big issue, and I shouldn't really differentiate it, but it's like it's still like this, that I don't get many compositions from women. So it's always a pleasure to discover lady composers, and this is also an interesting project with 12 different pieces that's going to be next year. So I really hope that that will be very will be something
So
special.
say I'm a composer who has got something to send. How do they submit their compositions to you? How can they find you to submit?
Well, it's very easy. I am in all social media. If it's good or bad, I don't know. But
Very good.
If you can type in Twitter or Instagram or Facebook, just Moving Classics TV, so you will find me there, and you can just send it there, and you can contact me. I'll give you my email address. So this is really the fastest and easiest way, and I'm always very interested in new piano compositions. Surely I look on the Moose score. I also have some followers there, and this is like the direct source of unpublished music. So I'm also there. So this is, I think, that's the easiest way.
And what do you have coming up? What's the next months or next weeks? What's the activity you have coming up that you want to share with the audience?
Well, I have several concerts, also live concerts in Munich. I also have an interesting project, which is present physical live concert. So it's a series.
It's great to hear live concerts returning. That is so
unusual.
exciting.
And isn't it funny that I really have to kind of mention this, that it's a special project? Well, it's actually it's a live project, and it's a series of 4 concerts, and it's called Classics for the Mind and the Senses, and it will be kind of a music history project with the best piano composition. So on 4 evenings, I will be taking the audience through different music history and styles, starting with Baroque up to the modern piano composition. So this is really challenging, and I will be also kind of giving some background information. So it's my personal story telling project. I also have a new recital. It's called Sunset Hour. This is for people who are searching for the balance to their really, let's say, stressful work, so that they get some musical inspiration that helps them to find this optimism and to find...
We all need that in these challenging times, as the news can be so incredibly depressing. We need music more than ever to kind of be that balm for our souls, right?
Yes, absolutely. That's exactly the idea. Yeah. So you just kind of a dream and just relax with the music, with really good music. So this is the Sunset Hour. Then surely I continue the composers of the week, and we have really some very this coming week is something totally different, something that you don't expect from Moving Classics, from the style, but it's even more interesting to get feedback. So I'll tell you only the title. It's called To Russia with Love.
A little James Bond reference. I like that.
Well, it's James Bond meets Prokofiev. So
I like both.
so it will be coming Friday, as always. Carrie Barnes is a composer, so that will be fun. It will be a little bit challenging.
Change of pace. Well, you'll keep on experimenting and doing great work like that. And I just love that there's so much to share, and that even after you've done so much, you're still exploring new ways to bring your audience's special music. Please keep in touch and let me know what you have coming up. I'd love to have you back on the show, and continued success in all of your activities, both live and on the internet.
Thank you very much for your time and for your questions.
Well, continued success, and greetings from the United States. Thank you for joining us on Music Matters with Jason Tramm. Please remember to subscribe to us on YouTube and smash that bell icon for the most up-to-date information on our upcoming guests and topics. We love it when you like and share our videos. It helps our community grow. Please check out in the links of this show. You can see the all of the information on this incredible guest that we had today. Make sure you subscribe to her channel, and wishing Anna Sutyagina a wonderful year to come. So thank you so much for joining us, and remember, keep music alive.